What if your relationship and the way you love is not broken, but just a little unconscious? What if every argument, every misunderstanding, every painful disconnection wasn't about who's right or wrong, but about two souls trying so hard to heal through each other? In this video, we're going to explore what it really means to have a spiritually healthy relationship, one that nourishes your growth instead of draining it. We'll go deep into three powerful principles. One is radical self-awareness and self-honesty. Two, the assumption of goodwill, believing your partner isn't trying to hurt you. And three, the shift from needing to win to wanting to understand as your only goal. These aren't just communication tips. They are portals into a deeper kind of intimacy, the kind that truly heals. Hi, I'm Amy Rose White. I'm an integrative psychotherapist making videos on psycho-spiritual self-healing. So every relationship begins with the relationship you have with yourself, healthy or not. And the cornerstone of that relationship is self-awareness, the ability to witness your own patterns without judgment. That would be a healthy relationship. But awareness alone isn't enough. You also need self-honesty, and that's the part where you tell yourself the hard truth, even when it's uncomfortable. This equals personal empowerment because we're acknowledging that every single dynamic we find ourselves in, we have contributed to at least 50% if we're an adult. And that is actually far more rewarding than constantly looking for ways in which we're being treated unfairly. It doesn't mean that we tolerate abuse, neglect, or someone who doesn't see or value us. But it does mean that we're willing to be at least curious at how, from our partner's perspective, they might have felt the way they did, or seen things the way they did, or created a story that the way they did. And from that place, so much healing occurs because we start to integrate the idea that we can be a good person who, even if totally unintentionally, we've had a negative impact on people we care about deeply. And from that space, we have the ability to hear them, which deepens the connection and trust and allows us to make changes in how we're connecting. And that's really the essential foundation of intimacy, because it's not about, I need you to love me according to my love language, yada, yada. It's how do I show up for you in the way that you experience as loving, not on my terms or how it's easy for me to love you. And that spirit of generosity and self-reflection is what really allows us to feel like we're in a true partnership with the people that we love. And that includes taking a really close look at the story we are telling ourselves. Behind every upset, I promise you, there is a story related to our partner's behavior that we have created in our mind. That doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. It just means it's a story that we are in charge of. So let me explain what that looks like. It's when you say, I'm not upset because my partner didn't text me back. I'm upset because I'm afraid I'm not a priority. Or I'm not distant because they did something wrong. I'm distant because I don't want to be seen in my vulnerability. I don't want to let them know I'm scared. And when you start being radically honest with yourself, you begin to separate your triggers and what activates you from their actions. It allows us to stop projecting old wounds onto new relationships. This is really the first layer of psycho-spiritual self-healing, meaning that the soul, the body, and the mind are all involved. It's realizing what surfaces in the relationship is often the unfinished business of your own inner child seeking resolution. And when you can own that, the entire dynamic shifts. The second principle is deceptively simple, but it's life-changing. And that is to assume your partner is not trying to hurt you. Assume benevolence. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring, again, toxic or abusive behavior. It means choosing a baseline of good faith in your connection based on who you choose. It's saying, before I react, I'll remember that this person loves me. And maybe they're also just scared, stressed, or trying to protect themselves. Because here's the truth. In most conflicts, no one is really the villain. There's just pain on both sides trying to be seen. So when you make this assumption that your partner isn't the enemy, you stop defending and start listening. You create space for compassion to enter the conversation. And in that space is where the deeper intimacy and the healing really begins. So imagine this, your partner forgets something important to you. Your first instinct might be, they don't care. But what if instead you paused, noticed that thought, and then chose to think, maybe they were overwhelmed. Maybe their forgetfulness wasn't about me. And just that small micro pause, that single act of assuming innocence, can transform conflict into connection. It invites both people to soften, to feel safe again, and to move from defense to understanding. So from that place, you might say, hey, I noticed that my body really tensed up. Coming from the body is always a great place to begin in loving relationships or with anyone you care about, but especially intimate partnerships. I noticed I got a lump in my throat when I didn't hear from you on my birthday. And the story I'm telling myself is, maybe I'm not that important to you. And I know how much you care about me, and I wanted to check the story. So it can really be that simple, that we simply acknowledge it's very possible that our partner wasn't trying to hurt us, and not just like wash that away by saying, oh, I'm sure it was nothing, but just name that experience in yourself from a place of owning that the story came from ourselves. And that goes a long way into eliminating defensiveness and over-explaining and shut down in our partners. It paves the way for the authentic truth of the moment to be acknowledged. And even if the person actually was really unconscious and simply forgot something that they knew was important to you, from that place of owning our own experience, our partner is much more likely to say, oh my gosh, I can totally see why that hurt. I am so sorry. I did forget. Birthdays just aren't that important to me, and I could have made it a priority in my calendar to make sure I didn't miss it because I know it means so much to you. You know, how can I make it up to you? Can I have a redo? You know, I'm putting it on my calendar now. I can promise you next year it won't happen again. The third principle, and maybe the most profound, is this. In a conscious, healthy relationship, the goal is never to win. The goal is to seek to understand and to meet each other's needs. Our egos want victory, but love wants harmony and open-heartedness. And when you argue to win, you're protecting your identity and closing your heart. When you communicate to understand, you're protecting the relationship. That shift from me to we is the mark of a thriving and evolved partnership. But here's where it gets even deeper. Sometimes understanding your partner's needs means confronting the parts of you that feel threatened by them. So maybe their need for space triggers your fear of abandonment. Maybe their need for closeness triggers your fear of losing freedom. That's a very common dynamic I see in my practice. When you can hold both, their need and your wound, with equal compassion, you start co-creating a relationship that heals both people. And that is not just love. That is spiritual growth disguised as romance. Because the only true remediation for that is connecting to our higher self and a higher power to fill that need, not just the other person. So let's integrate this. Healthy relationships aren't about perfection. They're about practice. The practice of self-awareness, catching yourself before you project. The practice of assuming love and good intent, even when your fear wants to see danger. And the practice of curiosity, wanting to understand, even when your ego wants to win and be right. When two people commit to these principles, the relationship can really literally become a living meditation, because we allow ourselves to come back to the right now moment instead of getting caught in the past. And every misunderstanding could become an invitation to awaken. Every moment of tension becomes an opportunity to choose love over fear, over our old trauma. And over time, that choice rewires your whole nervous system from survival into safety and from control to connection. That is what psycho-spiritual healing is. It is not about fixing yourself for the relationship. It's about healing through it. And if you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Love is not supposed to be a battlefield. It's a classroom. A sacred mirror showing you everything within that is ready to heal. Be honest with yourself. Assume the best in your partner. And remember that understanding each other is always more important than being right. When love becomes a path of intentional growth, not control, you don't just build a healthy relationship, you build a conscious one, a healing one, a holy one, a sacred one. And that is where real connection begins. Let me know in the comments below if this was helpful to you. How many of these do you already do in your relationship? Where do you get stuck with some of these principles? I know they're easier said than done, but they're so fundamental to using intimate partnership as a vehicle for not only healing, but really awakening. Thank you so much for liking, for sharing, and for subscribing to my channel. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Bye for now.